Hi, welcome back. So in this video, we will talk about conversational concept, conversational flow. So whenever we interact with LLMs, right, we seems to be in a conversation and it seems like it remembers our earlier data, earlier prompts, etc., right? And we can continue to ask questions. For example, in the previous video, I have supplied three patients data, yeah, and then it has produced a response. And then I asked, can you do it patient-wise, right? And then it has actually remembered that whole stuff and produce the response which is required. Yeah. Now, is LLM is expected to have memory? If so, how much memory it's expected to have? Yeah. So that we will try to work out. So this has three sections. One is the illusion of memory. Second one is how do we control the creativity, and then we will do the hands-on. Yeah. Now the illusion of memory. Yeah, very important thing. Even though LLMs seem to be having memory and we can keep asking questions and we can ask more relevant questions, and it seems like they remember whatever they talked about. Yeah, and you can actually leave that chat open, or you can exit, you go to a new chat and then ask the question. It may not remember, but if you come back to the same session, the same chat, you can ask the relevant question. It seems like it remembers. Now the question arises, does it really remember this whole thing? Yeah. So this again goes by the LLM architecture. Different LLMs might slightly work in a different way, but predominantly LLMs don't remember. They don't have memory. It's an illusion of memory. Yeah. So what happens is instead, an easier technique adopted is whenever we actually communicate, for example, I'm using Grok interface, or if you're using Chat GPT interface, right? It is designed in such a way that whenever you give a prompt, and if you are in a conversational flow, like for example, you have given prompt and then you have given next prompt and then the third prompt, and that way, whenever you give a next prompt, the interface will ensure whatever the interface that Chat GPT is having, our Grok interface we have, that will ensure to pack all the old content as a history and your prompt as a new prompt. So we have something called the whole history of whatever we have discussed is given as a context to LLM. So it's like you can imagine we are dealing with something like a conversation, but the opposite person has a short-term memory. Yeah, the person only remembers at that moment, and the moment I ask one question and he responds, then everything is kind of like zero. Yeah, he forgets the whole stuff. Now, how do we deal with this? Yeah. Now, what you can generally do is once you ask a question, the person responds. Then, before asking the question, so or along with asking the question, you also pack the whole conversation. You explain the same thing with new prompt. So that way, what happens is every prompt, the LLM gets the full context. So that's how it gives an illusion like it has a memory. So I ask one question, then it responded, then I ask next question. The interface, like the chat interface, the chat GPT, that's not an LLM. Chat GPT is an interface to LLM. Yeah. So that packs the whole stuff, and the underlying open AI's model, whatever like the 4O model or whatever the model that it's using, right? That model will receive everything as a context. So that's how the memory is kind of like achieved. It's an illusion of memory. Yeah. You can try it out. That's why whenever you go to a new session, the entire chat history goes for a toss. But when you come back to the previous session, even after a month, for example, right, and ask the next question, the entire content of that chat is packed and then sent it to the LLM. So that's how this is going to work. Yeah. Now, in the next video, we'll see how can we actually control the creativity of a large language model. Yeah. Thank you.